Welcome to the deep dive. If you're here, you're probably looking to really get a handle on things that matter. And let's face it, money is high on that list.
Definitely.
We know you want to cut through the confusion, maybe build a more solid understanding of personal finance. So think of this as your shortcut, your express ticket maybe, to feeling more financially confident.
Exactly. And today, we're diving straight into, well, the core ideas of personal finance. We've pulled together some great material that really aims to boost both your understanding and your financial know-how.
Right.
We've basically sifted through advice on budgeting, saving, investing, building wealth, all that good stuff. And we're here to pull out the really vital, actionable bits for you.
Yeah, we're drawing from three key pieces today: budgeting and saving, investing and wealth building, and managing debt and credit. So consider us your guides. We'll synthesize the expert advice, strip away the jargon, and give you what you actually need to know to make a difference.
Our mission today, it's pretty straightforward, but hopefully powerful. Give you the fundamental knowledge, the practical steps, so you can really start steering your own financial future.
No overload.
No overload, just clear, understandable insights you can use, like right away.
Okay, let's jump in then. Starting right at the beginning, budgeting and saving. It seems like every expert across all the sources, they really hammer home one crucial first step.
Which is?
Tracking.
Yeah.
Tracking where your money comes from and where it's actually, going. It sounds simple, maybe even a bit tedious, but why is getting this clear picture so fundamental?
Well, it's revealing, isn't it? When you track your income and expenses, you get this objective view, like really objective. Without it, you're just guessing. You see exactly what's coming in, what's going out. You might spot patterns you didn't even realize were there.
It's like the daily coffee habit adding up.
Exactly. Or, that subscription you forgot about but are still paying for. It's all about getting that clear starting point, seeing where you might need or want to make adjustments.
Absolutely. So once you have that clear view, the next step we saw was breaking expenses down into needs versus wants. Now that seems obvious on the surface, but how does really thinking about that distinction help?
It forces you to be intentional, really intentional with your spending.
Okay.
When you actively separate essentials, rent, groceries, utilities, transport from the discretionary stuff.
The fun stuff.
Yeah, the fun stuff. Eating out, impulse buys, whatever it is for you. Things that are nice but not strictly necessary. You gain the power to make conscious choices.
I see.
It gives you a framework. You can prioritize where your money goes, especially if you want to free up cash for saving or investing, or maybe if, expenses are just getting too high.
That makes total sense.
Okay.
So you know where the money's going. You've sorted needs from wants. Now, how do you actually build that savings habit? Our source has had a couple of really effective strategies.
Yes, and one of the most powerful, I think, is automating it. Automate your saving.
How does that work? Exactly.
Think of it like paying a bill. But instead of the money going to, say, the electric company, it goes to you, to your savings account. You set up regular transfers, checking to savings, every payday maybe. You're essentially paying your future self first.
I like that framing. Paying your future self.
Right. It takes the daily decision out of it, removes the temptation to spend that money because it's already moved. Your savings just grow consistently without you having to think about it every single time.
Making saving effortless, almost. The other key strategy mentioned was saving a specific percentage of your income each month. Why is that percentage approach good in the long run?
Well, if you connect this to your overall growth, financially speaking, saving a percentage means as your income goes up.
Your savings go up too.
Exactly. Your savings increase automatically with it. It's proportional. It adapts.
Right.
So whether you get a raise or maybe even if your earnings dip temporarily, the percentage stays consistent relative to what you bring in. It makes it really sustainable, adaptable for the long term.
Now, let's talk about something that provides real security. The emergency fund. The recommendation we saw consistently was aiming for, 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses? For some people listening, that might sound like a huge mountain to climb. Can you break down why that range and why it's so important?
Yeah, it can sound daunting, but the emergency fund, it's your financial safety net. It's there for the unexpected things life throws at you.
Like what?
Job loss, sudden medical bills, maybe a major car repair, things you just can't plan for.
Right.
The 3 to 6 month range gives you a buffer, and it depends a bit on your situation. If your job feels less stable or you have dependents, maybe aiming for 6 months gives more peace of mind.
Okay.
If you have a really stable income, fewer obligations, maybe 3 months feels okay. The absolute key, though, is that this money needs to be easily accessible.
Not tied up in investment.
Exactly. In a high-yield savings account, ideally, not stocks.
Yeah.
So you can get to it quickly when you need it without having to sell investments, maybe at a loss, or worse, go into debt.
Right. Okay, so we've built that foundation. Budgeting, saving, emergency fund. Now let's shift gears. Let's talk about growing that money. Investing in wealth building. The stock market often comes up first.
Naturally.
What's a really fundamental piece of advice for anyone looking to get started there?
The core principle, you see it everywhere, is diversification. Spreading your investments across a mix of stocks, bonds, and other types of assets.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
That's exactly it. You wouldn't bet everything on one horse, would you?
Probably not.
Same idea. If you invest in different areas, different types of assets, and one part of the market takes a hit, well, your whole portfolio is less likely to tank.
Because other parts might hold steady or even go up.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It's just a key strategy for managing risk. Really fundamental.
Okay, that makes sense. The sources also stress thinking about your personal risk tolerance and investment goals. How do those factors shape your decisions?
Yeah, this is crucial because it's about matching your strategy to you, your comfort level, and what you're trying to achieve.
Right.
Risk tolerance is basically how okay are you with the possibility of your investments losing value, in the short term anyway, for the potential of getting higher returns over the long term.
So how much fluctuation can you stomach?
Pretty much. And your goals, saving for retirement way down the road, or maybe a house deposit in 5 years, or kids' education. That dictates your time frame.
And the return you need.
And the return you might need, yeah. Someone young with decades until retirement might be comfortable with more risk. Higher growth potential investments, someone closer to their goal, they might want more conservative options, lower risk, to protect what they've already saved.
The materials we looked at really pushed long-term investing for wealth building and cautioned against trying to time the market or chase quick profits. Why is that long-term view usually seen as the smarter way?
Well, if you look at market history, trying to consistently predict the short-term ups and downs, it's incredibly difficult.
Even for the pros.
Even for the pros. Market moves depend on so many factors, things you just can't foresee. Long-term investing, on the other hand, lets you ride out those bumps and potentially benefit from the overall growth of the economy over time. Plus, you get the power of compounding.
Where your earnings start making their own earning.
Exactly. Trying to jump in and out. People often make emotional decisions. Buying high when everyone's excited, selling low when panic sets in. That can really hurt your results.
That makes sense. Another big point was maximizing retirement contributions and using tax-advantaged accounts. Why are these such powerful tools?
Okay, so this is about boosting your savings and minimizing taxes. Big win-win.
How so?
Well, first, maximizing contributions, especially if your employer offers a match.
That's like free money.
It is free money. It's an immediate boost, accelerating your savings. Then you have tax-advantaged accounts. Think 401k, IRAs, things like that, depending on where you live. They offer special tax benefits. Some let your money grow tax-deferred. You don't pay tax until you withdraw in retirement. Others might offer tax-free growth and withdrawals.
Which means more of your money stays invested and growing.
Exactly. Imagine your investments growing year after year without taxes chipping away at the returns along the way, over decades. That makes a huge difference in how much wealth you can build.
Okay, one more wealth building area mentioned was real estate. But it came with a pretty strong warning. It needs careful consideration and planning. What should people think about before jumping into property investment?
Yeah, real estate can be a great long-term asset, absolutely. But it's very different from buying stocks or bonds.
How so?
Well, for one, it usually requires a big upfront investment, a down payment, closing costs.
Much bigger than buying a few shares.
Much bigger. And it's not liquid. You can't just sell it instantly if you need cash quickly.
Good point.
Plus, there are ongoing costs, maintenance, property taxes, insurance, and if you're renting it out, you might be dealing with tenants. It's work.
So it's not passive income necessarily.
Not always, no. So before diving in, you absolutely need to do your homework. Research the market, understand the risks, the potential returns in your area, maybe talk to professionals, agents, financial advisors to make sure it fits your plan.
All right, so we've covered growing money. Now let's pivot. Let's talk about protecting your financial well-being by managing debt and credit effectively. The sources advised prioritizing debt repayment by focusing on the ones with the highest interest rates first. Why that order?
It's purely logical, really. High-interest debt is the most expensive debt.
Because it costs you more over time.
Exactly. The higher the rate, the faster that debt grows. Even while you're making payments, think credit cards, maybe some personal loans.
Okay.
By hitting those high-interest ones first, you minimize the total interest you pay. You kill the most expensive debt fastest. That frees up more money sooner to tackle other debts or, save and invest. It stops the debt from potentially spiraling because of those high charges.
That makes sense. Get the biggest win first. Another tool mentioned was debt consolidation, maybe using a lower interest loan or credit card. How can that help?
Well, think about simplification. If you've got multiple debts, a couple of credit cards, maybe a store card, a small loan,
It can feel overwhelming.
it can. Consolidation lets you potentially combine those into a single loan or maybe a balance transfer credit card. Often the goal is to get a lower overall interest rate than what you were paying across all those separate debts.
So one payment may be cheaper overall.
Potentially, yes. It can make monthly payments more manageable, and if the rate is lower, you save money on interest. But, and this is important, you have to look really closely at the terms.
The fine print.
The fine print. A check for fees, balance transfer fees, loan origination fees. Make sure it actually is a better deal for you in the long run, not just a temporary fix.
Right. Okay, shifting to building good credit. The sources really hammered home two things. Making on-time payments and keeping low credit utilization. These sound basic, but why are they so critical?
They might sound basic, but they are absolutely fundamental. Your payment history. That's the single biggest factor in your credit score.
Bigger than anything else.
Generally, yes. Paying on time, every time, shows lenders you're reliable, that you honor your commitments. It's huge.
And credit utilization. What's that again?
That's how much credit you're using compared to your total available credit limit.
Okay.
If you have, say, $10,000 in credit limits across your cards and you owe $5,000, your utilization is 50%. Lenders generally like to see that below 30%.
Why?
High utilization can suggest you might be overextended, maybe too reliant on borrowing. Keeping it low shows you're managing credit responsibly, not maxing everything out. It's another major factor in your score.
Got it. The experts also stressed regularly monitoring your credit report and disputing any errors. Why is being proactive like that so important?
Because mistakes happen. Your credit report is your financial history on paper, basically.
And errors can creep in.
Errors can definitely creep in. Wrong account information, payments reported late when they weren't, sometimes even identity theft issues. And those errors, even if they're not your fault, can drag down your credit score.
Which makes borrowing harder or more expensive later.
Exactly. Getting a mortgage, a car loan, even renting an apartment can be affected. So checking your report regularly, you can usually get free copies, lets you spot inaccuracies and get them fixed. It ensures your score is based on your actual history.
Protecting yourself, essentially. Finally, let's touch on the credit score itself. The sources mentioned it's calculated from several things: payment history, credit utilization, length of credit history, and other factors. What's the key takeaway about understanding your score?
The main message is that your score is a snapshot, a summary of your creditworthiness based on your past behavior and current situation.
So it reflects multiple things.
Right. While payment history and utilization are the heavy hitters, other things matter too. Like how long you've had credit accounts open longer is often better. The mix of credit, you have credit cards, installment loans like mortgages or car loans, and even how recently you've applied for new credit.
So it's a whole picture.
It's a whole picture, and the takeaway is that building and keeping a good score is an ongoing thing. It's about responsible decisions over time and, yeah, keeping an eye on that report. A good score just opens doors to better financial opportunities, lower interest rates, saving you real money.
Okay, so let's try and bring this all together. In this deep dive into personal finance fundamentals, we've really covered some ground.
We have.
From that crucial first step, understanding income and expenses through budgeting,
Getting that clear picture.
to the power of automating savings, building that essential emergency fund.
Your safety net.
Then we looked at investing principles diversification, taking that long view for building wealth.
And considering things like real estate carefully.
Right. And finally, managing debt effectively, hitting high interest first, and the absolute importance of on-time payments and low utilization for your credit score.
It covers the core building blocks, really.
It does. Which leads us to a final thought for everyone listening.
Okay.
Looking at all these areas, budgeting, saving, investing, debt, credit, which one resonates most with your current situation right now?
That's a great question.
And maybe more importantly, what's one small, concrete step you could take maybe even today, based on what we've talked about, to move a bit closer to your financial goals.
Could be anything, right? Setting up that automatic transfer.
Or just tracking expenses for a few days.
Yeah.
Pulling your credit report.
Yeah.
We really encourage you to think about what stood out. Pick one thing and take that first small action towards a more secure, more empowered financial future.